Thank you, Brenda, for the introduction. I would also like to welcome everyone to the Oncology Therapy Development Workshop. I'm very much looking forward to the next 2 days and thank Brenda and the SBIA for sponsoring this important meeting along with the Oncology Center of Excellence. I wanted to take a few minutes to introduce the Oncology Center of Excellence, OCE, as it is a relatively new center within FDA. Here, I highlight the major FDA centers active in the regulation of oncology products, as well as provide examples of types of products regulated by the specific centers. The Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, CDER, is responsible for biologics such as cell and gene therapies, which would include the CAR T cells and anti-cancer vaccines. The Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, CDER, regulates small molecule drugs and certain biologics, such as monoclonal antibodies. The Center for Devices in Radiological Health, CDER, is responsible for regulation of in vitro diagnostic devices as one example, which are becoming increasingly important in oncology as the promise of precision medicine is beginning to be realized. And OCE was set up to leverage the combined skills of regulatory scientists and reviewers with expertise in the different centers, and OCE supports an integrated approach for the clinical evaluation of drugs, biologics, and devices to help expedite the development of these products for the treatment of patients with cancer. OCE, authorized by the 21st Century Cures Act, was established in 2017 as the first inter-center institute of FDA, and our mission is to achieve patient-centered regulatory decision-making through innovation and collaboration. And it's the regulatory review responsibilities that is central to realizing the OCE vision as we seek to create a unified and collaborative scientific environment to advance oncology products through regulatory science, regulatory policy, stakeholder engagement, and education activities. OCE has many projects and initiatives that align with one or more of the core activities, review, science, policy, engagement, and education, that I won't be able to go into today, but I wanted to touch briefly upon one project that is the impetus for OCE's involvement in today's meeting. That is Project Catalyst. This is a familiar venue for all here today. That is a large conference hall at a professional society or other large stakeholder meeting. FDA Oncology is often afforded an opportunity to communicate at such venues on important regulatory policy or scientific issues that may broadly impact oncology drug development. Typically, during the open mic question and answer period, there may be a few questions in such a large setting. However, after the 15-minute talk concludes and the presenter leaves the podium, the question and answer period really begins. Often, this is at the back of the conference hall or just outside the doors and could last 4 to 5 times longer than the talk itself. Often, questions are being posed by researchers from smaller companies or academic centers, and the questions would be addressed by the FDA team member in a generalized context based on broad principles, rather than as advice specific to an individual product, given this is a public forum outside of a formal meeting mechanism with FDA. With the understanding that novel oncology therapies are increasingly arising from academic and small pharmaceutical companies, and this common back-of-the-room Q&A experience, Project Catalyst was conceived to address an unmet need within the broader oncology drug development community. The overarching goal with Project Catalyst is to foster early-stage oncology product innovation and development through scientific discussion, education, guidance, and regulatory engagement with a focus on academic life science incubators and accelerators, as well as small pharmaceutical companies. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Jeff Summers. Jeff is a pediatric oncologist who serves as the Associate Director for Translational Sciences in the Office of Oncologic Diseases, and he is developing and leading Project Catalyst. Jeff?
I'm really excited about the next 2 days, and I want to thank you and Gidon Blumenthal while he was here at FDA for recognizing the need for earlier engagement, interaction with, and education of fledgling oncology companies. And of course, Dr. Pazner, who's been instrumental in developing the Oncology Center of Excellence and the numerous oncology initiatives, programs, and projects therein to advance oncology patient care. Now, the real question is, are all of you out there who have tuned in this morning, are you in the right place? Have you ever sat down in a class and looked around and not recognized anyone? The students are all dressed in three-piece tweed and the professor doesn't exactly exude an immunology persona. Although in the current virtual world, you probably don't have those visual cues to realize right room, wrong building. This is pointers and pitfalls for oncology startups, not your everyday FDA meeting. Are you a basic scientist, a translational oncologist in an academic medical center, a collaboration of scientists across multiple institutions, or an early startup oncology company? The critical, defining, compass-pointing, GPS locating feature here has your science given you an insight into pathways or approaches that might avail themselves to killing a tumor cell over a healthy cell, and you want to exploit that and develop an anti-cancer therapy? If the answer is yes to that, you are in the right place. We, FDA, Oncology, OCE, want to help you succeed. We do not want to be the obstacle or scary or unapproachable or confusing. We want your ideas to come to fruition if they can advance patient care. I like to think that there is a singularity in science occurring. The cell science, bioinformatics, analysis tools, and the molecular biology techniques we have available today make restriction endonucleases and PCR seem like leftover pizza. But despite that metaphorical singularity of science, as we all know today, there will never be a single cure to cancer. It's hundreds of different diseases. We hope each of you out there is working towards curing a single cancer. This conference is for you, for new therapies, new ideas, for epiphanies, and how to navigate drug development and what might appear as over fastidiousness on the part of regulators, us. This is not for oncology startups making a generic cytotoxic or a 505b2 gemcitabine that includes maltose in the formulation instead of trehalose, or used a different strength vial or pre-made infusion bag over a lyophilized powder. There are economic, marketing, and convenience reasons driving these endeavors, but they are not going to be paradigm-changing oncology therapies. But oncology still reviews these meeting requests and applications in a timely fashion according to PDUFA goals. Now, we are keenly aware that we are responsible for a fair and level playing field. But OCE, through Rick Pazner, also have a public health duty to utilize the limited resources available and recognize new oncology therapies that have the potential to substantively advance the treatment of cancer. There are various programs, for example, Breakthrough Therapy Designation, that allow for extra guidance for development programs that demonstrate the potential to advance care over available therapy, and expedited approval pathways to make those drugs available to the public sooner. FDA Oncology did not, nor did OCE, create those processes, but oncology has by far the largest share of work associated with those programs. But the most important component of this is the leadership, motivation, and people power to get this done. I can assure you, when a drug demonstrates an 80% objective response rate with 60% CRs that are durable, greater than 12 months, in multi-drug resistant or refractory patient populations, those collaborative FDA reviewers across multiple centers bend over backwards to review and approve in an expedited fashion. This could be as fast as 3 months. If you want to cure cancer, you are in the right building, the right room, and at the right time in molecular oncology. And we hope that the efforts of Project Catalyst will help you do that. So Project Catalyst was initiated and formulated by OCE, realizing that science is identifying smaller and smaller patient populations that can be targeted by specific therapies that are being developed by smaller companies with smaller funding and that are not economically viable for large pharma. They may not be economically viable for you either, and we need to figure that out somehow, which is a later, much longer discussion. Project Catalyst is under construction. It's building bridges, linking communities, and taking some defined risks. It's forging reactions and relationships, hopefully none of which will explode. This collaboration with SBIA to bring you this conference is part of those efforts and risks. We have a cadre of outstanding participants across 3 centers, CBER, CDER, and CDER-H, as well as OCE. A number of our speakers are not oncology or OCE based, but have their own centers and signatory authorities, but we all work and collaborate together, and this conference would not be possible without their efforts. We also have some simply wonderful, experienced external speakers that will discuss some topics that FDA is much less knowledgeable in, but that are critical to your success and hence our success. These speakers are employed by outside institutions and companies. Oncology and FDA are not endorsing or promoting those entities, but I personally am endorsing the people. They are good people who want to help you and want to advance patient care. We all do that in our different ways, but I assure you that is their intent, and I'm positive it will shine through. It's been a pleasure to work with them. Let's look at a roadmap for at least today, for what should be a fun road trip. But let's hold off on spring break for 48 hours. And when you do take spring break, make sure it's socially distanced and safe. Where are we going? Keith Marmer is going to put us in the right mindset, point us in the right direction, ask the right questions, make the right friends. John Layton is going to help us understand the medieval days of cancer drug development and the science-guided approach we should be using now. Colleen Cafaro, Christy Schaefer, and Depanarian will help you survive another day. VC may also help you build and be a member of your drug development team. This is usually not their first time around the block, and they have a vested interest in your success. After lunch, Julie Bullock and Christopher Scull will help you understand why FDA is not and cannot be your consultant and the necessity of external help. Elon Musk could not do this all by himself. Then we get to hear from CBER on cell, tissue, and gene therapy products, specifically CAR T cells that are near and dear to my heart from Kimberly Schultz, and oncolytic viral products from Bo Liang. Ying Wang will take us through what can be difficult proof of concept models and toxicology models for cell and tissue gene therapy products, and how to get input from CBER early in development. And finally, Peter Bross is going to guide us on designing first-in-human trials in homogeneous patient populations with products targeting biomarkers we can measure and enrich for likely response, so that in those first 12 patients, we see substantive activity and your funders a value inflection point. There are at least 10 more points I wish I could make before we get started, but I'm going to save you the arduous ordeal and limit myself to one. For imminently life-threatening diseases like recurrent metastatic cancer, there is some regulatory flexibility, but pure and potent is of paramount importance. The product needs to be what it's supposed to be every time you make it, and it needs to do what it's supposed to do, particularly when you're injecting it into people. And the design of the trial needs to demonstrate drug effect, not the natural history of heterogeneous patient populations and diseases. We have encouraged the presenters to explain some of that regulatory flexibility, but flexibility is defined by the data. Once again, we strive for a fair and level playing field. This is not flexibility that is willy-nilly different from one company and product over another. There are always risk-benefit assessments. What is acceptable risk for an incurable metastatic cancer indication, and what is acceptable risk for that same cancer as adjuvant therapy to improve the 5-year overall survival rate from 93 to 97% are obviously different animals. Like a mouse and an elephant. They may both be cancers and they may both be mammals, but I sure know which ones I want sitting on me if necessary. Also, what's acceptable for a first-in-human phase 1 versus a pivotal approval licensure trial is also different. Now you guys have the privilege and opportunity to be doing the sexy science, the identification of cancer vulnerabilities and killing tumor cells. The regulatory science is not quite as glamorous, but is absolutely critical, pure and potent, and performs as described in the label. Your responsibility is to address the concerns and questions FDA has. There are a myriad of ways to slice and dice and skin a cat. How you choose to address those concerns and the data you provide are many times your drug development decisions. I know sometimes there are competing interests and differing thoughts, but what you might think is the quickest and least expensive way to get from A to B could turn out to be a circuitous, costly course. FDA Oncology provides reasonably conservative approaches for your benefit, because many times it comes back to us that FDA said this is the hurdle we have to jump over, here's the easiest, lowest threshold to meet, and that's not true. If the data suggests a concern, then you will be delayed and have to repeat and/or provide additional studies, the ones we likely recommended initially. Please keep that in mind as you listen to the presentations over the next 2 days. So on a more positive note, let me briefly introduce Keith Marmer. He will give our keynote presentation and put us all in the right mindset. Keith has had a storied career as an innovator, an entrepreneur, and now a mentor to others. I have no doubt that he simply does this for fun now and is obviously very good at it. I look forward to hearing more of his ideas for Project Catalyst in the future. Keith, that slope is yours. Make some tracks.